adventures. Let me show you what we're getting into today. We're going to go from this to this. So this has been in the back of the 2023 Kawasaki Teryx 4 SLE, and it's been holding all my tools, straps, just kind of everything that I really need when I go on adventures. And this has served its purpose for a couple of years, and it's been serviceable, but it's actually made for four-wheelers. This used to be on my CF Moto 600 2-up C-Force four-wheeler, and I just kind of transferred it to here. And I wanted something a little bit bigger. This is soft. I wanted something a little, you know, stronger. And so I found this one on Amazon. This is a budget-friendly, and we're going to install this on the machine today. But I wanted to tell you why I went with this instead of something maybe that's made for this machine. So Super ATV does make really good products for this machine, and I do have some Super ATV products on this machine. But their storage thing that fits back here is a little pricey. I really didn't want to spend that much money. So I believe it was over $350, $360, something like that. This was 140 bucks. That's what it is now. Actually, when I bought it, it was 119. So sometimes you can catch it on sale. I'm going to leave a link down in the description box below for this item if you're interested. I'm going to show you how we're going to attach this back there. There's two different options. I think one's going to be a little better option than the other, and I'm going to show you that next. All right, let me interrupt you real quick and get right back to it. So we're going to be making some revisions later on in the video with regards to the bolt size. So before you rush off and go and get your 1.5 inch 3/8 bolts, watch the video. We had to get some longer bolts, go to 3 inches. All right, back to it. All right, here's a quick look at what I've been using. So there's 4 buckles to secure the lid. And it does have a metal frame on the inside, but otherwise it's just soft material. And here's a look at the new one. It does have a lock on it, so that is another feature that I like having over that one, is you're able to lock up your contents. Is it the best lock in the world? Probably not, but it will keep random quick thieves from getting into your box. So this one does have somewhat of a rubber gasket seal. It's not much of one, but it is a pretty tall lip on here, so I think it's going to be pretty hard for moisture and or dust and stuff to get in here. Oh, and one other thing, I probably will be ditching these chains and putting a strut in here, a small strut, because when we put this in our machine, the lid's going to open about like that, and there's nothing to hold it up, and a strut would do that. Plus, when you're going down the trails and stuff, these chains are going to be making a lot of noise. All right, let's show you on the back of the machine here. So there's 2 options to mount this where it does go through the frame. You could mount this, but just through the plastic. I don't recommend that. Definitely recommend going through the frame, because you can get some pretty gnarly off-road conditions. And you really want that box and all your contents to stay with you. So here is 4 screws. Now this is all already on the machine. There's 4 points there. Now you could do this. This is a good option. You just have to drill out that hole to put in your longer bolts, because there's a welded nut on the bottom side of this. The only problem with this route is this screw back here. Let me show you underneath. So here's our first one, right? Our second one is right there. So that's going to be an issue when you go to try to install this box, because it's going to be hard to get your drill bit down under here to drill out the hole. But you're like, wait a minute, you can drill the hole from up top. Yeah, you can. But then when you go to drill holes for the box, how are you going to line all that up? What I was going to do is put the box down in there, and then I'm going to secure it with a ratchet strap or tie down strap, and then drill from underneath. That way it drills the hole for the bottom of the box. So let me show you option number 2. Option number 2 is going to be 2 holes drilled, and it's going to be at a wider stance, so it's just 2 holes, so we'll have 2 bolts. Well, you're like, well, that's not as secure as 4 bolts. Well, hold on, let me show you. First, let's look underneath here. So we have the frame here, right? Okay, so now here is a hole already in place, same as over here. That's going to go kind of right in the middle of our platform in there. So now we have plenty of room here to drill from underneath. So we want to drill from underneath here because we don't know where it's going to be at up top. So we're going to drill from under here. We'll get our box set in there and drill that hole. All right, so for the other issue, only 2 points of contact versus 4. It's not as good, right? Well, I got a problem. Well, I have a solution to that problem. Let me show you that. All right, this is a small piece of Unistrut. So I use these super struts in a lot of builds that I do. This is not a super strut, but a Unistrut. So it's a little smaller, and it's going to work perfect as an anchor for this project. So those new holes are going to be right here and over here, and then we're going to cut this to length to accommodate those 2 holes, and then this is going to anchor all this down to our machine through the frame. So you think this will work? I think it's going to work really good. The only issue is we're going to have that Unistrut down in the bottom of that thing, but it's not even really 1 inch thick, I don't think. Maybe 3/4 of an inch. It's not going to take up that much room, and it's really, I don't think it's going to hinder anything of what we're going to be using that thing for. It's really going to secure the box to the machine. I mean, we'll do a, you know, shove it around type of thing. I think this is going to be the better option versus those other 2 holes that are kind of hidden. All right, well, let's get these holes drilled out, see where they come out at. We'll get the box put in there, strap it down, drill those holes. All right, so for this project, I went with some galvanized 3/8 by 1.5 inch hex bolt, and you want to get some washers too, some good size washers that will fit inside the Unistrut, and then also big enough to encompass these holes that are in the Unistrut. So it's going to be holding this in place. So your the pre-drilled hole on the frame is a little bit smaller diameter than the 3/8, and I went with a 25/64. I believe that's what that is. Yeah, drill bit. So it's just a little bit larger than the 3/8. I just want a good clean. You know, I don't want any kind of restrictions. We're going to be we're not threading this in there. We want it to go right through there, and we're just going to bolt it on there. So let's drill our holes. All right, get you some eye protection on, because you're going to be drilling up above your head, and potentially you're going to get some metal shavings coming down. That wouldn't feel good, very good in your eyeballs. So actually, you should probably get some better ones than these. But this is what we got. So let's drill our first hole here. All right, we got our 2 holes drilled there. So our next step is we're gonna get the box put in here, and then we want to strap it down, hold it down to the machine really good, so when we're applying pressure to drill our hole, it's not going to move around on us. We want that to stay put. Let's do that next. All right, so this box is fairly lightweight, not very heavy. So real quick, this is, let me give you the dimensions of this box. You've probably been wondering. This is 44 inches wide, 15 inches deep, 15 inches tall, and it fits perfect. We're using, I mean, just every bit of available space inside this box. And it's not a square flush drop in this box. It does kind of taper in some places. So this goes down in there before that tapering effect happens. So you really get a good, nice fit. See, there's not a whole lot of play in there. Just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this forward up against the rear of the vehicle as much as I can, and then make sure it's centered from side to side. You want to pull it forward as much as you can so you can open the box. So that's as far as the box will open because of these bars right here, which is fine. That's plenty of room to get anything in and out of here that you need to. The only thing is these chains are useless. I'm going to take these chains off and I'm going to get a strut and attach it to here, and we're going to have that so when you open it, it'll just spring open and it'll hold close, and then you just pull it down to shut it. All right, so I'm doing this strap because I don't have a buddy to help me with holding this thing while I drill my holes. So I got a tie down strap on the wheel over here. I have to be careful because it is hitting my mud flap here, so just be mindful of that. But we do have enough tension on here to hold this in place. And under here I just have it around, hooked to the frame underneath. So now let's drill our holes. Let's see what we got. All right, here we go. So you can see our two holes there. We're gonna clean up that excess metal there, and we're gonna measure that. So we're gonna measure those two holes, the distance between the two, and we're gonna add an inch to their overall length and make sure that we have holes on that unistrut that's gonna match up, and make sure we don't have to drill any additional holes in that unistrut. Now there's about an inch and a half elongated hole in those unistruts, so we should, hopefully we're not gonna have to drill into the unistrut. We'll see. Let's measure, cut the unistrut, and then see what we have. Okay, we gotta get this door, this lid open and stay open. We're gonna use a bungee strap to help us do that. So this is what I'm talking about. When you're out there on the trail, you need to get into your stuff. You don't want to have to be trying to figure out how to hold this door open. You want it to just open and be done. So we're definitely going to get a strut for that. Okay, let me just tell you, it's right at 9 a.m. here. We're in North Texas. It's heating up, man. This is the first week of August. The dog days of summer are here. They're upon us. So I'm trying to get this project done as before it really gets hot. All right, so we have a little file here. This is just for the purpose of getting that, knocking that big chunks of metal slack off that didn't come off. Just a couple little scrapes and we're done with that. And now let's measure. So I'm going to measure from the outside of that hole to the outside of this hole. 17 inches and 3/4. So we're just going to add an inch to that, and then we're going to see if our unistrut holes will match up to these holes. If not, we'll have to do some more drilling. All right, again, just make sure you wear some safety glasses. When you're cutting metal, It's so humid out here, they keep fogging up. And I'm pouring sweat already. All right, so we want 18 3/4. Let's just take a look real quick, 18 3/4, and let's see what our holes would look like. So right about here, I think, okay, so the holes is not really correlating with what we want. So what I'm going to do, because 18 3/4 from this edge, so I want to try to make one cut. So are you able to see this? Sorry. All right. So I want to make one cut. So I could cut this edge to get that hole on the very edge of our Unistrut here. I'm just going to leave that. So we want 18 3/4. That's right here. That goes right in the, almost in the middle of a hole here. So we're going to go past that. So it's going to be 20.5 inches. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with going wide. You can, if you want to, go the whole width of the box. That's just going to add more support. In fact, we might just do that. So we know it's 40 inches. We could do 25 inches. We could do 32 inches. But I think for our sake, we're just going to stick with just covering the holes. That's going to be 20 inches of locking down that box. So I think that's going to be good enough. All right, let's make our cut at 20.5. All right, so we're just using our DeWalt grinder with a metal cutting wheel. And again, make sure where if you're going to be doing this, if you're cutting on metal, you're going to create some sparks and things. So make sure. Now this grass has been wet. It still potentially could catch, so I'm just going to be mindful of that. So just try to cut it where you're not going to be causing a fire. You don't want to do that. Now we're just going to use our little file and kind of clean up that sharp edge. All right, well, let's see what it looks like in relation to our drilled holes. So you're probably not going to be able to see down in there. It's dark in there. There's a lot of backlighting, but I mean, you get the gist here. So man, it's real close. Okay, all right, so there's our hole there. We got it all the way to the edge, and then look right there. Just a little bit right there. A little tiny bit. So what we could do is we could line this up. Well, we could just drill a hole right in between these holes with our 25/64. And then we'll be fine. I think that's what we're going to do. All right, so we're going to drill our hole there in between these two slots. So to make sure our drill bit doesn't slip and slide around, you're going to get you what's called a prick punch. So in a sledgehammer, you're just going to put this right where you want the center of that hole to be. And that's all it takes. So that just puts a little prick of a hole in there. A prick of a hole. Anyway, sorry. So now our drill bit will stay right there and won't track around. All right, let's drill our hole. All right, note to self. When we do a project like this, let's make sure all our batteries are charged so we don't have to keep taking one battery off of one tool to the next. Remember that next time. All right, let's take a look now. So here's our hole over there. And here's the hole that we just drilled. So this is going to work out beautifully. beautifully. It's going to work out. Oh, there's our keys. We don't want to forget those. I'll put these up in the cab real quick. I'll just put them right here on the seat so I don't forget. Easy enough. Let's get our bolts installed. We're going to put the top end bolt from up top. So we need to get some big washers, and then we need big washer and our nuts on the bottom. Now if you're worried if these nuts are going to come loose or something at some point, you can get some lock washers, or you can put some blue Loctite on there. I'm going to put some blue thread locker on there because we're going to get a lot of vibration, a lot of jarring action, and it's just going to ensure our stuff's not going to come apart. All right, we got our blue thread locker, 3/8, 1.5 inch bolts. We have our large washers. This is going to go in the super strut on top, and then just in case this is too big for underneath in that framing area, we do have a couple of smaller ones. I'm not sure if that's what we're going to have to do. Then we have our nuts. Like I said, instead of blue thread locker, you can use lock washers. Well, we have to clean out our hole a little bit there. There we go. There we go. Okay, so our original 1.5 inch bolts were not long enough. So I was trying to use those. They were left over from a previous project. So we had to go with 3 inch. So that's what you're seeing there. That's how much is left over. So 3 inch is probably going to get us a good bite. I probably would have got 2.5 inch, but my local Lowe's didn't have them. So they had the 3 inch. This will work. It's not going to interfere with any functionality of the machine. So we got those put in with our washers. So we should be able to use our big washers back here. Actually, it doesn't really matter. You can use a smaller washer because we got a lot of surface area here to deal with. So we're going to use blue thread locker. So that kind of acts as a glue and it really holds the nut in place. But we will be able to break it loose at a later time. If you use red thread locker, you might have more of an issue of getting it off. So we're going to use blue. So I'm just putting that there, reference to where I'm going to put my blue thread locker, because obviously we don't need it all the way on the whole shaft there. Don't let it drip on you. That's going to be good right there. Okay, so it's going to be a 9/16 wrench. Just going to get this tight. So up top, the bolt will freely spin. So if you don't have a buddy, like I don't right now, you can use vice grips and clamp it down up there. That will hold the bolt in place. All right, that's it. Wasn't too bad. Fairly easy. I think the secondary bolting option is definitely was the way to go for me. Those backside bolts were just going to be too hard to get to drill those holes. This is going to work great. Let's see how sturdy this is. All right, so the whole machine is moving, right? So that's not going anywhere. So now all we got to do is put your favorite tools and whatever you need in here. And then what's cool about it is you got a nice hard surface up top to put things on, attach to. So, I mean, you could add on to this if you want to. Easy to get to, even with our spare tire rack here. So even with the spare tire rack, we're still able to get in over here. The only thing left we got to do is we're going to add a strut to this. I think just one strut on one side is going to do it. That's all we need. This is not heavy duty. We just want to be able to hold this open while we're trying to access our box. And these chains are going to clink and clack going down the trail, it's gonna drive you batty. So get rid of those, and then add our strut, we'll be good to go. All right, well, there you go. There's our cargo box install, and taking a look at it, and I'm gonna leave a link down in the description box below. There's no affiliation, it's just I came across this in my research, and I've really been wanting to replace that other little soft box. It was just kind of small, and I wanted something I could lock up to. You know, I'm gonna be out there on the Alpine Loop, and you know, I'm gonna go in for lunch at some point, someplace, and then I just want to be able to lock things up. It's just nice to be able to do that in a hard aluminum box. Is nice. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helps if you do this project. There's not a whole lot that you really need, just a couple of tools, and I showed you everywhere you need to drill for this, and it's sturdy. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to create any problems for you. It's going to work out great for you. And the only thing was I chose the wrong bolt size, which I was trying to reuse from a different project. Anyway, go with the 3/8 inch shaft, galvanized hex bolt, 3-inch long, and it'll work good for you. All right, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Adios.